just really getting started in this, is there a marching technique, like you're using straight leg, but is there one that might be more suitable to those in the early stages? I mean, does this work well for them, or is there something else?
In all my 100 years of doing this, I always march straight leg.
Okay.
But you know,
But you marched in cadets. So
I marched in
that's
cadets
what you-
straight leg technique back in the early years. Cavaliers do the bicycle step. Blue Knights have, I'm not quite sure what you call it, with the check step, very different. So I think every style probably has its own unique challenges. And you just need to make sure that the training program supports, you know, what that style is. And I think it's very important is what your visual staff knows or what your visual staff has experienced or is comfortable with, you should go with that. If I had, I have, honestly, 99% of our marching staff is march cadets. Okay, I wouldn't pick a Cavalier marching style when my marching techs have all marched in cadets. Okay, you want to make sure that the people that are teaching it understand it and feel comfortable with it. Okay, it might not be something that you perhaps like, but you want to make sure that the people that are teaching it understand and feel comfortable with it and can make the kids achieve it.
In some cases, the music director is the marching staff.
Right?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's, you know, this points out the complexity of how far you can wind down with this, just as we do in music, and it's very important to be
Sure.
consistent.
Do you have time to do one more thing?
We did. Do you want to see one more thing before we take a break? They'd stay all day, I think.
Face that way right now. Eight forward, stop and stop. This technique we call stop and goes or touch and goes or whatever you want to call it. But the main purpose of this is just we do this in order to stop going from one direction, completely stop for a beat, just so we can go into the next direction after that, the complete opposite direction after that. Let's do 8 and 1. So 7 straight, 1 cross 2. Sorry. So you'll see a full dead count in there. We call that the dead count just because there's a complete absence of motion. You'll see that they're stopping their weight on that count 7 before they start going in the opposite direction. Okay. So let's do 8, 1 cross 2. Set. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Straight, 1 cross 2. So there's an entire beat that we promote that the body center stop on that 7 count, just so we can see the entire form line up with here. And all that is just a little kiss to the ground before we go to the opposite direction. Does that make sense? Let's do it again. Right? Let's do 1 cross 2. Let's do the back. Let's do backwards stop and go 2. Let's stop and 1 cross 2. So forward 8, stop and go, back 8, stop and go, 1 cross 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. 7 straight, 1 cross 2. 7 straight, 1 cross 2. And shake it out. So we do this in order to stop the complete motion of the ensemble, or whoever we want to do the stop and go, so they can get all the way to the opposite direction easily without having any confusion. And so we see that shape stop the beat before it. Their entire weight stops there before they get back, stop and go to the next step.
So the physical challenge that I, as the drill designer, probably put on the kids is step size and direction changes. So I want to make sure that, you know, if my level on a scale of 1 to 10, if I think I'm giving everyone an 8 for step size challenge and direction changes challenge, we want to make sure that our marching program actually matches that. And that's, you know, part of why we did the documentation this year, why we're spending 50% of our time, why we've done a lot of time on foot placements in the winter is to making sure that the training program actually matches the challenges that we're actually asking the kids to do. Any questions in general? Is there something other than what we've demonstrated that might be helpful to you?
What are some exercises you do to strengthen the core muscles?
The core muscles?
Yeah.
Well, we do a lot of like abdominal work, like the numbers of the training program, like planks or sit-ups or punches.
They're such good sports.
So when we do planks, all we're doing is trying to create a straight back the entire time, as if you were in a push-up position, except right now you're really engaging your muscles, and it's pretty much you're using only your forearms to keep them straight, but your abdominal muscles to keep your body off of the ground. So, all right, relax. It gets pretty intense, but that's one of the things we do. Also, we do a bunch of different variations of crunches. Let's just do the crunch. Yeah.
We have an aerobics instructor that does that as well. So not only do we try to do strengthening exercises as well as endurance exercises. They did a lot of kickboxing for about 45 minutes of kickboxing sometimes. In the winter months, we spend an hour and a half on what we call PT. And so that's a combination of just strength training as well as endurance training. We do suicide stations sometimes where we'll have like maybe the planks is one, deep lunges, sit-ups, where there'll be almost like an aerobic thing where it's time. You do that for a minute and a half. You have 30 seconds to run to the next station, and then do the next type of suicide things. And we try to, every camp, try to mix it up.
We try to change it a lot just to confuse your body so you're not working the same muscles and it's getting redundant every time. Like we'll do abdominals one day, we'll do chest and biceps one day, we'll do legs the next day. So we keep confusing the body so the muscles keep growing. Yeah, that's any other questions?
I would just add that Brian was mentioned before that there are, in terms of the drill, there are passages when it might be a 9 or 10 level of difficulty, and there are certain musical passages that are probably a level 9 or 10 on a scale of 10, and we try not to put those together. So there are times when I mean, it makes sense at a certain level, but a lot of times the problems that I see is that the kids are trying to play too much and are trying to do something that's really hard physically, and it's just it's going to be very, very hard to bring that off. So after I write the music and Brian starts writing the drill, then he and I go back and we come up with certain compromises. Most of the time it's me giving in and I sacrifice. But you know, adjusting the music so that you never have these passages where if you add up the music and the visual demands, it's an 18 to 20 level of difficulty when you add the two. I mean, you're trying to keep it, and we don't go through each passage, but you try and keep it in that maybe 15 or 16 range at the extreme. So, and there's an adjustment. So I've had to adjust some musical passages just because I think the visual is more important in some spots, and we can adjust the music. And Brian will adjust the visual too, if I'm really adamant that the music has to be a certain way in order to create the moment.
Yesterday, Michael Cesaro talked about the three things: tradition, innovation, and state-of-the-art. And I think the Boston Crusaders are probably representative of that. The organization's been around for a long time. They have a long-standing tradition of excellence and the innovation in terms of the effort that's gone into this training program for their physical responsibilities, I think, is significant. And there's certainly state-of-the-art, and you can see that these two gentlemen, Eddie and Taylor, aren't they amazing?
Yes.
Let's